is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from a news about Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, waste management companies across the country give government a 1-week notice to settle arrears or proceed on strike. We'll tell you exactly what's happening in that regard. Speaker of Parliament cautions members of Parliament that any of them, in fact, any member of Parliament who absents him or herself without going through the proper procedure of notification could actually lose their seats if they continue to absent themselves without permission. Well, this is not the first time we're hearing this. So what's going to be different this time around beyond the verbal caution and the threats that we've heard the Speaker put out over time? We'll have a conversation on that. The stakeholders at the Constitutional Lecture reignite calls for there's been this conversation back and forth and matters arising right now, the latest in court regarding the Kwabena Eduboahen case. Earlier today, there was a development in court. We'll tell you about it here on Ghana Tonight. So stay with us. Your thoughts and views, comments, as always, are welcome on Ghana Tonight. And the latest as well on this National Service Authority scandal after the forensic audit detail was put out. You're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you and connect with us. Let's have a for Ghana Briefs.
Stakeholders at the Constitutional Lecture in Accra are calling for a review of Ghana's presidential term of office without delay. The pursuit extending the term could promote continuity and strengthen the country's development agenda. The call was made at a forum organized by the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOGSAG, in Accra.
This is also the constitutional framework that we created at independence. A prime ministerial system where we reward the best leaders on the basis of performance. And we do not sack leaders on the basis of having served 1 term or 2 terms, but persons or leaders were rewarded on the basis of performance. As we speak now, Ghana has got the shortest term limit for the presidency system across the entire Africa. It's only in Ghana and Nigeria where the president is given 4 years to produce magic.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has directed the Clerk of Parliament to maintain detailed attendance records of members of Parliament to facilitate disciplinary action against those who are habitually absent without permission. Expressing his displeasure over the growing trend of absenteeism among lawmakers, the Speaker cautioned that MPs who fail to attend plenary proceedings risk sanctions, including the possible loss of their seats.
I did indicate from the very beginning of this meeting that I have the records of attendance for the first meeting and the second meeting. I decided for good reason not to publish them, but to give you the last opportunity. It looks like that is a catastrophic mistake I made. I'm saying this for the last time. I've given directive to the clerks at table to take the records for this meeting, and please, we have the standing orders, we know what they say. We'll be taking action to make sure that we compel members to sit or to be considered to have vacated their seats.
The minority in Parliament has defended its motion filed against the vetting of Paul Bafuboni as Chief Justice, indicating that the request will protect the interest of the acting Chief Justice and the integrity of the judicial process. The caucus has demanded that all processes to vet and confirm the acting CJ be halted until all pending legal cases filed by the former Chief Justice are settled. A member of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee has pronounced that request dead on arrival.
The minority are playing political gymnastics. So when would those cases in respect of her ladyship Tokonu end? If a lawyer says that this case is not going to end soon, all technicalities will be adopted to make sure it doesn't end soon. The seat is not the bona fide property of her ladyship Tokonu. It's for Ghana, and Ghana must move on.
Ghana's healthcare data system is undergoing a major overhaul as the Ministry of Health has introduced a new digital platform to replace the $100 million long-troubled Lightwave Health Information Management System. The move comes as Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Akando publicly accused the LHIMS contractor of underperformance and pointedly blackmail.
The contract was meant for 3 years and extended to for 5 years for 950 facilities, and you have only delivered 450 facilities. Clearly, nobody needs to tell you that the company underperformed. 2 weeks or so, the system has been completely down. If this is not blackmailing, I don't know what it is. The medical records of Ghanaians will never go back to the manual way.
The Environmental Service Providers Association says they will embark on a nationwide strike beginning November 7 in a protest of government's failure to pay them. Speaking to the media, the Executive Secretary of ESPA, Ama Ofori Entry, said that service providers were on the verge of shutdown due to mounting financial pressure.
We call on the government to, as a matter of urgency, make payments to avoid a shutdown by the 7th November 2025. We therefore appeal to the government for the immediate release of outstanding payments owed to all waste management contractors by the 7th of November 2025.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're also on 3FM 92.7. For those of you who are on the road right now, so it's probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Kum Tum Tum Precom. Coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, the Supreme Court loses out that particular steam of the bid to stop the trial judge in the Eduboahen case. Well, tell us. We'll tell you exactly how this steam was lost as the Supreme Court threw out that challenge brought against this particular process by the lawyers of the former National Signals Bureau, led by Samuel Atachia. They've expressed disappointment over the decision of the Supreme Court regarding an application seeking to stop the trial judge from hearing this criminal case against Kwabena Eduboahen, the former National Signals Bureau boss. Now, the Apex Court unanimously dismissed their application to prohibit the trial judge from further hearing the matter. Now, I wanted to take a listen to exactly what Samuel Atacha said. As a lawyer, the lead counsel for Kwabena Duboahing was not too happy, as was expected, about this particular decision by the court earlier today. Take a look.
Disappointed but not discouraged. We'll see how the case will travel.
How does it feel going back to the same court that you...
It doesn't move me at all. The only persuasion a judge will have is the law. I'm not going to have a banter with him. I'm not going to fight him over anything. I'm just going to project the law. It doesn't move me at all.
The full reasoning of the courts.
Well, clearly, not too happy about the outcome of the court decision earlier today. But this is one case that Dennis Poberi-Wadam Esquire is joining me right now. It's quite clear that there is a path of having this case head as expeditiously as possible. If you recall, Daniel Yademelovo will recall that particular position that he espoused, that there should be some time limit to some of these cases that the state has brought against this person, so we don't have to drag it for so long, 8 years, 6 years, and there's really no end to these cases. So we'll be finding out exactly how these proposals will play out, and especially because of these developments that we are seeing in court and matters arising. And in fact, earlier today, if you recall, sometime last week, Samuel Atacha walked out of court because he was not happy about the proceedings and how things went, and that also drew some criticism and divergent views as to whether a lawyer can walk out of open court like that. Dennis, and this is what we are seeing. A unanimous decision. Yes. Dismiss the application to remove the trial judge.
Yes.
How's it playing out now?
But the recall of the walking out of the learned counsel for the accused persons is a good starting point for this, because the reason for the walkout had everything to do with this particular application that was determined today. And the context is that when they appeared before that court that very morning, they had filed this application which was pending before the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. So they had to bring to the attention of the trial judge that they had a pending application which was seeking to restrain him or to prohibit him, so to speak. And in that regard, they were praying for an adjournment so that they would deal with this matter today and then come back to continue the trial. Mm-hmm. That did not find favor with the court. In other words, the court did not grant that prayer. And that was the reason for which the learned Atacha had to do whatever he did. And in fact, today before the Supreme Court, he brought that to the attention of the court and did indicate that he was constrained under the circumstances, and that was how come he had to take that particular move. But Alfred, the matters that were before the Supreme Court were pretty much simple. That's having looked at the conduct and some of the utterances that the trial judge had made in this trial so far, the accused persons think that the trial judge is biased, for which reason they were seeking the Supreme Court to restrain, or at least to stop him or take him out of the case from further hearing the case, because they do not think that with him doing the trial, they will get justice. And the basis for what their claims, of course, they had to justify why they were saying so. So they made references to some of the pronouncements that the judge had made in respect of some applications that they had made. We recall that Atacha had made an application on behalf of the accused persons for some disclosures, asking that the prosecution should furnish them with some documents. Mm-hmm. According to them, part of that ruling, the trial judge actually indicated that that application was an abuse of court processes, and that the information they were asking for would not assist the court in arriving at its decision. So for them, those comments made by the judge in themselves were prejudicial, because their contention was that they were asking for disclosure of certain documents that the trial judge had not seen. So on what basis then was the trial judge then saying that the documents will not assist the court in arriving at its decision? So in their view, such comments already prejudged the matter, and do not think that with him in there, they would get justice. There was another issue that they raised, which in their view amounted to bias. That often, when the court sets a date for a certain ruling, there's usually a prayer from prosecution to abridge the time. So he gave a specific instance where the court had given a 24th day to deliver a certain ruling. But that upon the prayer of prosecution thought the 24th was too far and that the trial needed to be expedited.
Okay.
So prosecution proposed 17th instead of 14th, and that prayer was granted. In their view, that amounted to bias.
I see.
So those were some of the things, including even their request for that disclosure to be made. In their view, that disclosure meant that there was information enough for the accused persons to be able to use the word loosely, prove their innocence, even though the accused doesn't prove. But in this context, it will help the accused get out of this trouble.
Right.
And to the extent that the court did not allow that disclosure to be made, that in itself was a problem for them. So basically, that was the crux of the accused person's case before the Supreme Court, hoping that all of that put together, the trial judge will be prohibited from further hearing the matter.
Which the Supreme Court has dismissed.
The Supreme Court has dismissed. And of course, that was upon the opposition by the prosecution, which was led by the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Shrimsai, in that particular regard. I mean, for him, he believed that whatever that was said, in the first instance, to correct the record, that whatever documents that they filed before the courts were not documents that they got in their entirety and decided to remove some of the documents, as the accused person's lawyer sought to portray. He simply made the point that they applied for certain documents because the act alleged to be committed, or the theft alleged to have been committed, happened within a period of time.
Right.
So they only applied for the documents within that period of time, and then they filed same. So it's not the case that they got all the documents and decided to remove some of them.
I see.
He also makes the case that because the judge made a pronouncement within his jurisdiction, if there was any remedy for the accused persons, it had to be by way of an appeal and not by way of a judicial review or this kind of process. So by and large, on the totality of it, looking at the evidence before the court, including submissions of counsel, the court came to the conclusion that no, the application did not have any merit.
So
And
the
that's how
trial
come-
judge stays.
Yes. So what it means is that essentially the trial judge stays. Learned counsel Atachia will have to go back to that court and then they'll proceed. So that's how come you hear him say that he's disappointed, but they soldier on regardless.
Let's take a listen to him again. It defines the posture and the response to exactly what Dennis you've carefully and expressly elucidated there and in the proceedings in court earlier today. This is Atachia again. Take a look.
I'm disappointed but not discouraged. We'll see how the case will travel.
How does it feel going back to the same court that you...
It doesn't move me at all. The only persuasion a judge will have is the law. I'm not going to have a banter with him. I'm not going to fight him over anything. I'm just going to project the law. It doesn't move me at all.
The full
Well, so that's Samuel Atachia there. So they're going back to the court with this same trial judge that they raised some prejudice against.
Yes.
And when is the next date for this case?
Trial continues somewhere next week. What it means is that prosecution will continue to keep its witness in the box because, mind you, where the confusion erupted was the fact that prosecution having put a witness in the box was about tendering in some documents to which the accused person's lawyer Atachia, raised an objection. That's also raised another debate altogether, or an argument, for which the court had to make a determination as to whether the document should be admitted or not admitted. The judge ruled in favor of prosecution that the documents be admitted. So what it essentially means is that when they go back to court, they are going to continue from where they left off. Once the evidence is admitted, they continue with cross-examination, and that's how the case will progress in the coming days.
Well, it's one that we'll look at quite closely, and this is not the only one. From the National Signals Bureau case, that's the NSB, let's go to NSA. That's the National Service Authority. This is another case that is also playing out in court in a very interesting way. But this time around, outside of the courts and the documents that have been adduced, we do know a forensic audit by the Auditor General, which has uncovered questionable payments, and that's what's coming up next, made to a former executive director of the National Signals, that's the National Service Authority, as NSA, Osea Sibenchi. and his deputy, Gifty Owari Mensah. Now, even though we've had some detail put out on a number of occasions by the Attorney General during these press conferences to update the public on the cases he's prosecuting, the forensic audit detail, which we also have seen portions of, but the full complement of the forensic audit reveals quite a lot. So we're going to be serializing portions of it as we go on in the coming days. But tonight, we'll start with one that will also get you thinking. But Dennis, what did we find in this forensic audit? And bear in mind, this forensic audit was conducted by the Auditor General.
Yes.
The Auditor General had come previously under some flack because questions were asked as to if the Auditor General is conducting audits on all these institutions on a yearly basis, why did they not uncover this until this point, this time?
Alfred, you remember also that when the Attorney General addressed the press or addressed the public in respect of this particular matter and preferring charges against some individuals in the National Service Authority, I mean, those under the previous administration, he did indicate that the initial investigations by Uyoko revealed that the amount involved was some amount around the regions of 500 million Ghana cedis. However, upon a special audit by the Auditor General, a forensic audit at that, the figure now stands at 2.2 billion.
True.
So this is from that particular report that has the figure in the regions of
2.2 billion.
2 billion, yes. But because these persons are already before the courts, we will deal with them tonight.
Sure.
Because some of the revelations coming are rather shocking. So let's begin with the former Director General himself of the National Service Authority, Mr. Asibe Osei. Now, that a payroll review revealed repeated high-value payments. We're going to look at the high-value payments and how they are made. Now, these are some of the findings from that particular report. That Mr. Asibe Osei was registered as a volunteer under the ID. Then they provide the ID. Maybe for purposes of those, yes, it's an ID. So let's just say that he was given a specific ID.
He was
and he
registered
as a volunteer on the National Service Scheme.
The Director General?
Yes. That, though officially posted to Greater Accra, of course, when you are registered as a National Service person, you'll be posted.
No, so the Director General was registered as a National Service person?
Yes, and posted to Greater Accra. He was supposed to be posted to Greater Accra region. Payroll records falsely placed him at Kumau Farms. He continues to say that he held an e-switch card with the number provided and received 516,000 monthly. He held an e-switch card and received 516,000 monthly.
But for what? As a national service?
Yes.
But that was not what they were paying national service persons.
Well, in
if this was what was being paid national service persons.
Say it was repeated high-value payments, which were suspicious. So ordinarily, they don't conform to what a regular national service person. In fact,
imagine a service person being paid this much.
This report actually does a breakdown of how much it can pay the regular national service person. 516,000 monthly between 2023 and 2024, and this totals 8,256,000 Ghana cedis. Now, Kumawu Farms has 50 volunteers, each paid separately through their own e-switch cards. That there's no record or evidence that Mr. Osei collected or disbursed these funds to others. Right. The monthly amount paid to him equals the allowances of about 721 personnel. So you asked if that was what regular national service was paying. So they are saying this amount that was given to him could actually pay 721 national service personnel.
Every month?
Yes.
That's a 516,000.
Precisely. Suggesting serious financial irregularities or possible diversion of the funds. You also recall that as part of the Attorney General's address, he did mention that part of investigations they uncovered or they discovered an e-switch card in the residence of the former Director General.
That's
so
true.
this, in a way,
so on the face of this forensic audit detail, we could safely say that based on the findings, that this 516,000 a month that the forensic audit revealed was being paid to the National Service Authority Director General actually could have paid the allowance of 721 service personnel every month.
Yes.
For that length of the period.
Precisely.
That he was taking that money.
Now let's deal with the deputy, or the former deputy. So in her case, while she was also employed as the Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Secretariat, that's being a full-time salaried public officer, she was also enrolled and placed on the National Service payroll as a national service person.
Same template.
Same templates. In fact, in this instance, it provides specifics that on the 16th of March 2021. Now, what were the findings? That one, the individual was manually uploaded into the NSS system by one A.J. Robert Ni Laikuma, an NSS officer. Now, why this is curious is because they were dealing with a software. So wherever you see something manually done, then it raises questions. There was also another finding that her PIN was approved by Mustafa Yusuf on the 22nd day of April 2021, though he lacked authority to do so, as he had become Minister for Youth and Sports and not an NSS official.
So Mustafa Yusuf was a former Director General.
The one before Mr. Osei.
Osei.
Yes.
And this forensic audit report says what? He approved
the PIN.
The PIN
for Gifty Owari. And on the day that was done, Yusuf then had become the Minister for Youth and Sports.
So thereby he had no authority.
That's what the audit finds.
He is a Yagaba Kabor member of parliament, right?
Precisely. And one of the persons named in the investigations, for which, except that at this point, we have not heard from the Attorney General whether charges will be preferred against him or not. But of course, the Attorney General indicates that there are other national service persons or former who will also be charged. As to whether he will be one of them, we still cannot tell at this point. But this is what the audit has uncovered. It also gives further details as to where exactly she was posted to. Now we're talking about the Gifty Owari Mensah, that she was posted to a school somewhere in Tamale, but she failed to report within the period required 3 months, that she did not undergo any biometric or physical validation mandated by NSS regulations, because this is standard practice for national service persons. You need to physically go and validate and go through that process. Now, despite all these irregularities, that she was placed on the payroll and her entire allowance. But in her case, she was paid the regular national service allowance. So the total, for the total year that the allowance was paid to her, it was 6,708 cedis 48 pesos for the 2021-2022 service year. And that was diverted to a vendor via the marketplace platform for a purported credit facility. So even though she was taking this amount of money in her name, it was diverted to a vendor who purportedly was providing a credit facility. So Alfred, these are some of the things that I imagine from that particular forensic audit. There's a lot more in it we'll be looking in the coming days.
Yeah, it's one of a matter of interest. Then stay with me, because Edem Senanu, who is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, then he's been following what you've been putting out there right now and the details as we have them. Senanu, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. As we're getting to see more detail about this NSS or the National Service Authority scandal and the records on the face of the forensic audit, which we have a copy of, it raises questions as to what could have emboldened the perpetrators to go to this extent. That is, if what we are seeing in this forensic audit is anything to go by.
Well, Alfred, this must be obvious to every citizen by now. You only go to that extent when you have every confidence that you will not be caught. The only reason why you go to this extent, and it's as long as the facts accurate, this at this base is intentionality. It means there was criminal intent to the extent that the facts are accurate. It's greed. It's greed, especially in the context where you have every confidence that you will not be caught. Because if you know you're going to be caught, you will not do this kind of thing. So we see what the courts will say at the end of the day. But as long as the facts are accurate, And it is the case that they collected those money. So, and enrolled in NSS, and she herself collected the money and utilized it. It's intentionality. That shows that there was criminal intent. And you only do that to the extent that you have every confidence that the system is not going to trip you. And so we need to pay attention to that. It's a reason why the issue of the specialized courts is so critical. And we need more than just one. Several of them with a target of sitting daily, make sure you have a target of 6 months. We know there will be some, one or two, maybe it may go beyond, but that way maybe you can request for maybe additional 3 months maximum. But within 6 months, as is happening elsewhere, we should be able to discharge of such cases once the investigators, prosecutors, and judges have been trained. This, if it is right, is intentional.
The intentionality is where, when Dennis was running through it, the clear wording of this forensic audit points to that direction as well. But let's take a listen to the Attorney General last week on this National Service Authority matter and this forensic audit that had then led to an increase in the money that was lost from a little over 500,000 to, in fact, 500 million Ghana cedis to 2.2 billion cedis. Take a look at this.
In the case of the latter, we have filed charges against the former chief executive, executive director, Osea Sibe-Ntwi, and his deputy, Gifty Owari. Charges are being prepared against the rest of the public officers and the so-called marketplace vendors. In all, we intend to file about 10 cases in the NSA scandal and will use some of the public officers and vendors as prosecution witnesses. Now, this is a strategy that is working very well for us, and we intend to continue to use that strategy. In a situation where there is a small criminal among big criminals, and the small criminal knows a lot, it is better as a matter of prosecutorial strategy to use a small criminal to get the information in order to be able to succeed, and that is what I'm doing. Also, I wish to announce that the Auditor General has conducted a forensic audit into the NSA, the National Service scandal, and the total amount of money stolen or illegally spent now stands at 2.2 billion, and not the 548 million that was uncovered by my investigators as at June 2025. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I have here a copy of the Auditor General's report. Again, painstaking investigation is very important in criminal matters. And so, based upon what the Auditor General has done, and this is a forensic audit, okay? Forensic audit means that they've gone beyond what ordinary, auditing would have done. And so, we are going to, based upon this, in some cases, change the charge, amend our charge sheets in order to bring fresh charges.
Well, Mr. Sano, so that's the Attorney General last week, giving that was the first time we got to know of this forensic audit that had then uncovered more alleged malfeasance in this what he described as a criminal enterprise, increasing that figure from a low of 500 million to 2.2 billion in this National Service Authority scandal. Begs the question that every year we have the Auditor General conducting audits on these institutions. This time, he had to take another layer of an audit, that is a more deeper audit process, a forensic audit to uncover what we are hearing now. It would not be wrong for any of our viewers or for us to then begin to think that a lot of water would have gone under the bridge unnoticed, or we have really lost a lot of public funds because we haven't conducted forensic audits in some instances in the past, is it not?
You are right about that. I remember I was pointing out on Saturday when I was on your platform that with the transition of the past government, all the officials were supposed to, senior officials were supposed to have declared the assets, the final state. And that if anyone, first of all, the question is, have they done so? That in itself is a whole investigation. How many of those who were in office and at the end of the tenure were supposed to have done that to tell us this is where they find out their assets now? But more than that, has somebody made the effort to validate? Are we cross-checking? And it might open a Pandora's box. It's the same case here that there may be many cases, and simply because an audit hasn't highlighted it or somebody has not reported it, somebody who has some of the information. And ideally, the way to deal with that is the internal audit. One of the key things simply is that we need to decouple their current system where they are paid by the same taskmaster, the one that they are supposed to review, monitor, and raise questions and red flags. The same person is the one who has control over your salary, your perks, and privileges. The likelihood is that even if you find something, you will not make too much of a fuss about it. So we need to change that institutional arrangement if we're going to get good results from the internal audit system. And it's by far the front line. The first line of defense against corruption really is the internal audit system. And we need to apply our minds to restructuring it so that it is fit for purpose.
I see. I hear you talk about asset declarations. So the suggestion is that because of these revelations we are seeing in this number of instances, National Signals Bureau, National Service Authority, and then the latest being this buffer stock, and we'll get to that because the Attorney General has now then filed charges against the former buffer stock CEO. We'll tell you about it shortly, so stay with us. All of these instances, you say, Mensano, should trigger a call to look into the asset declaration forms of the former government officials in the previous administration, as to exactly which assets they declared in their forms?
The level of the impunity tells you that many people strongly believed that they will not be caught. So there are two things. One, if they are government appointees, they probably thought that their government will not be removed. They were quite certain, we are going to be here for quite some time. But beyond that, much more substantively, was the fact that they believed that they would not be caught. Because you don't add yourself to lists like that. You don't do those kind of obvious, in the public glare actions if you believe that somebody can hold you accountable. And to that extent, the likelihood is that there are many more such instances that have transpired. And only time will tell. But I think a much more fundamental is between the external audits done, the internal audit systems must be strengthened to work. And it should be said that the internal auditors don't feel obligated, or what's the word? They don't feel like they have a certain allegiance, or they are, incapable of raising issues because their lives and livelihoods and sustainability depend on the person who they are supposed to be, auditing. So we need to change that system if we're going to get better results out of what we have put in place.
And Mr. I appreciate you for this, and the system's better results beyond the prosecutions and the recovery. It is the systemic overhaul. That should also be another point of the conversation. Adam Sanano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, joining us here on Ghana Tonight. I told you that we'll get into this buffer stock, the latest coming through from the Attorney General on that. But when we were going through Gifty Owari Mensah's the findings of this audit report, the forensic audit, she was posted to a school in Tamale, in the northern region, where Kobli Mahagu, Sobria. So one of our viewers apparently lives in the community, sent us a picture of the school, just to confirm that it's indeed a school that exists, because the name of the school was quite a huge one. But this is it. This is what we just got. Take a look at this. This is the school that. All right. So this is
Islamic Primary.
This is the school she was supposed to have gone to serve as a national service person, right? Kobli Mahagu Sobria Primary School. That's
interesting.
This is it.
Yes.
But there's no record that she reported there.
No. At least per the Auditor General's report on this.
But she was the Deputy Director General, by the way, at the time.
Yeah.
So, anyway. But there's a lot more in this forensic report.
Because there are other individuals who have actually been named in that particular report. But like I mentioned earlier, because these persons are already before the courts in respect of matters relating to this, it's only appropriate that we begin from here. But in the coming days, we'll look at the detail in respect of other persons as well.
Perfect. Let's stay a bit further with the Attorney General. And coming up next, this time we are looking into the latest on this food buffer stock, the National Food Buffer Stock Company, former CEO, and the charges that the Attorney General has preferred against him. We received an official copy of what the Attorney General did earlier today, and that's what we want to show to you. Dennis, what do we know about this?
Yeah,
What's
so
the latest
we're
on
actually expecting this last week Friday because the Attorney General had indicated that he was ready to file the charges on Friday. Unfortunately, that couldn't happen, but the charges were officially filed yesterday. Now we know who exactly the accused persons are. 5 accused persons in all, 25 charges against them. I mean, from stealing simpliciter to money laundering, use of public office for profit, and the like. So we now know that Hanan Abdul Wahab is the first accused person in that. His wife, the second accused person, who is Faiza Seidu Wuni. There's Richard Samasanti, who is at large, the third accused person. We have the Aludiba Foundation, an artificial person, the fourth accused person, and Energy Partners, also an artificial person, who is the fifth accused person. What we do not know is when exactly these persons are going to be put before the courts. But I mean, we still are in the week. Today is a Wednesday. We have a Thursday and a Friday. It does appear that Attorney General likes to, he likes Fridays.
To end the week.
To end the week. But we're looking forward to how things are going to pan out.
But what are the counts, as we do know it?
Well, so
the charges, essentially.
Like I mentioned, generally, they relate to matters of stealing simpliciter, matters of money laundering, because you recall that's when the Attorney General was addressing the press conference, he did mention how the money was moved from one account to the other and how it's been used to acquire real estates and the like. So in respect of that, you find matters of money laundering, also the use of public office for profit and, offenses in that respect. In all, there are 25. So obviously, we cannot go through all the 25 here, but that's the summary of it.
The 25
counts. Yes.
I see, but count 1 is interesting. Stealing, contrary to Section 1241 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 at 29. And the particulars of offence, and let's look at this. Hanan Abdul Wahab Aludiba, so the Aludiba Foundation.
Yes, coming from his name.
Is his name. That's just be put on that foundation. So Hanan Abdul Wahab Aludiba, 39 years old. That you, between February 2017 and February 2025, in the Greater Accra region, and within the jurisdiction of the court, did, while purporting to make payments from the funds of the National Food and Buffer Stock Company to James Tieku Apau, trading under the name and style of Sortina Enterprise. Sortina wasn't mentioned in there, right?
It was.
But at least based on this.
So this is it. When you look at the brief facts, you will understand that, and this is something that Attorney General has been speaking about, and he actually did confirm that it's working for him. You see James Tieku Apau with a Sortina Enterprise. He's actually one person whose company, the Sortina Enterprise, received a chunk of the money, in fact, almost all the money, and was then transferring it to accounts that are linked to Abdul Wahab and the wife.
Right.
Now, in this particular situation, the Attorney General says he is going to be used as a prosecution witness.
This gentleman?
Yes.
I see.
So ordinarily, he should have been part, but the Attorney General says he is going to use him as a prosecution witness.
So he gets a pardon, essentially?
Well, I mean, in the circumstances.
All right.
But that's a strategy that the Attorney General is using in this particular matter. And when you look at the brief facts, which is down there, you see all of those things. It's quite a lengthy...
It's a 16-page one.
Yes.
So the full complement of it is on 3news.com.
Precisely.
We've made that available for you, our viewers, to go take a look. As we keep saying, every document that we get, after we put it out exclusively, we'll also make it available to you so that you, our viewers, will get to follow every step of the way. What we talk about here is publicly verifiable, so you can also follow every step of the way. But then we're also getting some information from the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Tomorrow, he's expected to address the press, but we'll tell you something right after this quick break from the Office of Special Prosecutor. So stay with us. This is Ghana Tonight. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. Coming up next, the Office of the Special Prosecutor's Asset Recovery and Management Team has seized several items, including luxury vehicles, jewelry, weapons, and documents relating to landed properties from the Trasaco residence of CEO of Gold Ridge Company Limited, Nanayao Dudu. Just for the benefit of those who know him with his alias, know him as Dr. Sledge. Now, the OSP seized the items, including weapons and these luxury vehicles and landed property documents, after a search was conducted at his residence earlier today. Yes. Now, we have some information on this. Dennis Pabewadam is staying with me a bit longer today for good reason. What do we know from the OSP on this matter?
Well, so the OSP is giving us an update on some investigations that he's doing. He says that Sledge is under investigation in respect of some matters, which he clearly details. That as part of the investigation, the Office of the Special Prosecutor today conducted a search at the Trasaco residence. His official name, Nanaya Ododu, known as Dr. Sledge, East Legon offices. The search, of course, he says, was under warrant. But what is important is the focus of the investigation, which the OSP clearly indicates as that under investigation for suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses linked to Minerals Income Investment Fund. Remember this myth?
Yes. MIF, yes.
Yes, it has everything to do with the sky training.
Absolutely. So
yes.
This myth is more like an octopus. It has its legs in many areas, including this one, no?
So the investigation basically is on MIF, the gold trading. This specifically has to do with the gold trade program, which allegedly caused a loss of some $94 million US. Look at the figure involved.
94 million.
94 million US dollars to the states. So the OSP Asset Recovery and Management Team seized several items, including, you've already mentioned all those, luxury vehicles, jewelry, weapons, documents relating to landed property. So that's what we are learning. But Alfred, this is not the first time we are hearing the name Dr. Sledge in public conversation like this.
Yeah.
I mean, until recently, only people who operated in a certain industry knew the man Dr. Sledge.
True.
But for some reason, the Attorney General mentioned him within a context when he was responding to some allegations made against him as Attorney General. Let's take a listen to the Attorney General make those comments sometime a few months ago.
I am reliably informed that his basis of saying that I am corrupt and a thief is that I took campaign contribution from a businessman at East Legon known as Dr. Sledge, and that he also knows the people who donated pickups for my campaign. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if receiving donations for your campaign or getting a pickup for a campaign is thievery or corruption, then there are 276 thieves in Parliament, including the person who was making the allegation himself. But let him be warned that in my hometown of Zorungu, we do not fear mud being thrown at us. On the contrary, we walk into the mud to deal with the person doing the mud slinging. And I am prepared to walk into the mud with A+. Because what I have about him and the National Service scandal, he should come and tell you, I'm challenging him.
So that's the Attorney General. He was responding directly to A+.
Yes. So A+ had made allegations against him, calling him names. We can't repeat here. So the question was put to the Attorney General to respond, and that was how come he mentioned the name Dr. Sledge as being a businessman from whom some donations were taken for party campaign and all that. So it creates a sense, or at least it gives a fair idea of who this person we are talking about is in the line of politics and business and all that. But of course, Alfred, the OSP is telling us that tomorrow he will give a full update, as he had assured us last week.
Yes.
2 things to get an update on: that he has completed the investigations on the SML, and the SML, scandal in so many ways relates to the former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. He also says that he's going to give an update on the packet for extradition of Ken Ofori-Atta, which he had indicated that by close of last week, he was suspected to have given the whole docket to the Attorney General to facilitate the extradition process, which many Ghanaians are looking forward to. So indeed, tomorrow, the OSP says at 2:30 p.m., he will give an address to the state, and we will be there to cover all of that.
Certainly, and this is the notice that the office put out earlier today on this matter. So this is what we received, and take a look at this. This is the details that Dennis, you just ran through, is captured in that official notification of this said press conference by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Updates on completion of investigation into Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. And that's one of the subjects of investigation on Ken Ofori-Atta, is it not? SML.
Precisely.
The extradition packet.
Yes.
On former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. So we'll get to know the update.
And this matter is actually breeding some friction between the OSP and the Attorney General office. Attorney General doesn't seem happy at the pace of the work. OSP says that I have to take my time to tighten the loose ends and everything will be done. It looks like we are ready for that particular one. But we look forward to see what the OSP will say tomorrow in respect of that.
And so there's a lot to chew on and make a date tomorrow. We trust that will definitely give you extensive detail, comprehensive analysis of what the special prosecutor will say at this press conference beyond what you're going to be hearing anywhere else. So stay with us. And as always, make a date tomorrow at 10 p.m. on Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight.